You're listening to Audiology. Support our work on Patreon, and be sure to submit your requests for topics in the comments below. Part 1 Introduction. Griselda Blanco Restrepo, who also went by nicknames like the Black Widow and Cocaine Godmother, was born on February 14, 1943. She became a notorious figure in the drug world, particularly for her role in the cocaine trafficking scene in Miami, United States, from the 1970s to the early 2000s. She is sometimes said to have been involved with the notorious Medellín Cartel. Blanco's life came to a violent end when she was killed in Medellín on September 3, 2012, when she was 69 years old. Part 2 Early Life. Griselda Blanco Restrepo was born in the coastal city of Cartagena in Colombia, and when she was just a toddler of 3, she relocated with her mother, Ana Blanco, to Medellín. This move planted the seeds of Griselda's future criminal activities as she was introduced to crime early on. Her ex-partner, Charles Cosby, shared a chilling story. When Griselda was just 11, it's claimed that she abducted a child from a well-to-do neighborhood close to where she lived, tried to hold them for ransom, and ultimately ended their life. Before reaching her teenage years, she had already turned to thievery. Facing the torment of her mother's boyfriend's sexual abuse, she fled from home at 19 and continued to survive through theft in Medellín into her 20s. There are suggestions that she may have turned to prostitution during this period for financial survival, though Blanco herself has refuted these claims. Part 3 Drug Business. Blanco played a pivotal role in pioneering the cocaine distribution network, linking Colombia with major U.S. cities such as Miami, New York, and to distributors across California. In 1964, she entered the United States using a false identity and counterfeit documentation, settling in the Queens borough of New York with her family. There, she quickly built a successful narcotics enterprise. In April 1975, federal authorities charged her with drug conspiracy, along with 30 accomplices. To escape prosecution, she absconded to Colombia, only to resurface later in the United States, shifting her operations to Miami during the latter part of the 1970s. Blanco's reappearance in Miami coincided with a surge in violent clashes, including numerous murders annually throughout the 1980s. As local law enforcement struggled to stem the tide of cocaine flooding the city, this fight against the drug's proliferation resulted in the establishment of CENTAC 26, a combined effort between the Miami-Dade Police Department and the DEA. Blanco was deeply entangled in the chaotic and deadly skirmishes that characterized the Miami drug war, also known as the Cocaine Cowboy Wars, which marked a time when the cocaine trade outpaced marijuana trafficking. Her expansive drug trafficking network spread across the United States garnered staggering profits, raking in about $80 million per month. Part 4 Arrest. Griselda Blanco was apprehended at her residence on February 17, 1985, by the DEA for her involvement in cocaine trafficking, including its production, importation, and distribution. She stood trial in New York City's federal court and received a 15-year sentence after being convicted. During her time in jail, Florida authorities further accused her of orchestrating 3 separate murders. Initially, her insider hitman, Jorge Ayala, was set to testify against her in exchange for a reduced sentence. However, his credibility was undermined due to inappropriate conduct with 2 secretaries from the prosecutor's office, which led to complications in the legal proceedings. Blanco ultimately admitted guilt to the lesser charge of second-degree murder for each of the 3 cases and received a 20-year prison sentence, which she served concurrently with her existing term. While incarcerated, she had a heart attack in 2002, prompted by her tobacco use and weight issues. Her declining health led to her early release under a compassionate directive in 2004, and she was expelled to her native Medellín. Blanco lived inconspicuously until her death in 2012, with her last public sighting at Bogotá Airport in May 2007. Part 5 Personal Life. Blanco was married 4 times and had 4 children. She gave birth to 3 sons with her first husband, Carlos Trujillo, in their hometown of Medellín, all before she turned 21. Her fourth child, a son named Michael Corleone Blanco after a character from the Godfather series, was with her third husband, Darío Sepúlveda. Sepúlveda left Blanco in 1983, went back to Colombia, and kidnapped Michael during a custody dispute. Following this, Blanco had Sepúlveda killed in Colombia, which allowed her to get her son back in the United States. The Miami New Times reported that Michael saw the death of his father and older brothers before he was fully grown. His mother was incarcerated for much of his younger years, so his upbringing was handled by his grandmother and other legal guardians. In 2012, Michael faced house arrest due to his involvement in cocaine trafficking, and he served a sentence for those charges. He shared the experiences of his isolated upbringing in a 2018 episode of Evil Lives Here, a documentary series by Investigation Discovery. The following year, he appeared in Cartel Crew, a VH1 docuseries that profiles the lives of drug cartel leaders' descendants. Michael is also an entrepreneur who created a clothing line called Pure Blanco. Towards the end of her life, according to Michael, his mother turned to Christianity and became a devout follower. Part 6. Death. On the 3rd of September 2012, the notorious figure Blanco, along with her expectant daughter-in-law, paid a visit to the Cardizo meat shop situated at the intersection of 29th Street in Medellín. Upon leaving the shop, Blanco became the target of a motorcyclist who fired 2 shots at her, resulting in her death. This method of murder, involving a gunman on a motorcycle, was reminiscent of the execution technique that Blanco is reputed to have popularized in Miami, while she was a dominant force in the narcotics trade.